You have already attended previous webinars. For those who haven't, my name is Jorge Muñoz. We work at San Buenaventura University in Bogota. We have 4 branches, but I work in Bogota. And well, let us start. For those people who haven't been able to register, I also want to, please give me 1 minute. I also want to share um, this this video. I want to broadcast on Facebook just in case someone wants to join us. Well, I wrote a message in the chat box, and I want you, please, who for those people who want to get an attendance certificate, I really appreciate your writing your full name. All right. Some of you said, no, I don't want to receive any certificate. I'm not interested. But most of you said, yeah, I'd like to receive an attendance certificate. So please write down your full names in such a way that then I can compare the people who attended this webinar to the list I have. Okay. So thank you very much. No, please write your full name. But what I mean is you can click on your name. I mean, you go to, you look for the participants here in the Zoom room, and you can change your name. In fact, I think this is in Spanish. So you click on your name and you click on renombrar and you rewrite your name. I'm sorry, I didn't clarify. Some of you have written your names in the chat box. No, I want you to rewrite your name because then I download the list, the attendance list, and well, it's just to get to know full names for certificates. Okay, thank you very much. So, well, let's start. Have a presentation, and then I give the room to our special guest. And I'm showing it's the slide I'm showing. Yeah.
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much. Well, so welcome to our university. I already saw some students from the university, so you are very welcome as well. But for those people who just attend our webinars for the first time, we are Universidad de San Buenaventura, Bogota. And well, my name is Jorge Muñoz. I am the director of 2 online programs. We have the professional and the bachelor's degree in English language. So we are very happy to have you here, and you are welcome to attend the webinar, which has been called "What Makes Us English Teachers." All right. Before starting, I propose this agenda. I'm just gonna take 5 minutes before giving the floor to Professor Jairo Castañeda. I'm gonna show you an institutional video because the idea is that you also help us share the new academic proposal that we have. We create a new program which is named Professional en Lengua Inglesa. Then I'll give you 2 minutes information. I'll just take 2 minutes, and then we start with Professor Jairo. Okay. Excuse me, somebody is writing in the chat. Luis Fernando, Coral, Santiago Vélez, etc. Please rewrite your names. I mean, you don't have to write your name in the chat. No, you have to go to your name, click on your name, and then you are given an option which says renombrar, and there you change your name. Okay, so thank you very much. Well, I'm gonna show you this. It's a very short video, so I really appreciate your attendance just for these 2 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes.
El programa profesional en lengua inglesa de la Universidad de Buenaventura, sede de Bogotá, es una oferta académica de pregrado en la modalidad virtual que busca formar profesionales capaces de gestionar ambientes virtuales de aprendizaje, diseñar materiales multimedia para el aprendizaje de inglés, ser tutores virtuales y usar las competencias comunicativas en lengua inglesa para la traducción de material audiovisual. Con un enfoque de liderazgo y emprendimiento, nuestros futuros egresados pueden desempeñarse en dos nuevas áreas que han marcado el mundo globalizado: la educación en modalidad virtual e-learning y la traducción audiovisual TAP. El plan de estudios tiene un total de 150 créditos y se fundamenta en 5 componentes. Disciplinar. Aborda los fundamentos teóricos que le dan soporte a la educación en línea y a la traducción audiovisual. Además, incluye 7 cursos de inglés para desarrollar las competencias comunicativas. Profesional. Tiene como objetivo desarrollar en el estudiante competencias para aplicar procesos y procedimientos en los escenarios de práctica, tanto educativos como de traducción audiovisual. Formación y desarrollo humano. Fomenta un diálogo entre humanismo, ciencia y tecnología para reflexionar sobre los interrogantes de la sociedad y contribuir en la formación de profesionales íntegros. Tecnologías de la información y la comunicación. Favorece en el estudiante el uso de herramientas web, multimedia y software para potenciar el aprendizaje en la modalidad virtual. Análisis y expresión. Dinamiza en el futuro egresado el pensamiento crítico para dar respuesta a las necesidades del contexto a través de proyectos de investigación. ¿Qué nos diferencia? El programa de lengua inglesa de la USB es una oferta académica innovadora gracias a su metodología 100% virtual que permite al estudiante manejar su tiempo de estudio y aprender de otras culturas en tiempo real gracias a las distintas ubicaciones geográficas de sus participantes. Sus campos de acción en ambientes virtuales y traducción audiovisual que responden creativamente a las necesidades que surgen en el ejercicio profesional de la lengua inglesa en diversos contextos a nivel nacional e internacional. Las plataformas de aprendizaje a través de las cuales se gestionan los contenidos del programa para practicar la lengua extranjera e interactuar desde cualquier parte del mundo a través de videoconferencias. El acompañamiento virtual que recibe el estudiante durante su proceso a través de un aula de inducción y un curso de aprestamiento durante el primer semestre. Encuentros sincrónicos semanales y tutorías complementarias en inglés y en español para afianzar los conocimientos. ¿Qué esperas? Si quieres ser un experto en lengua inglesa que fomente el bilingüismo y fortalezca el acceso a la cultura en tu región, inscríbete en el programa profesional en lengua inglesa de la Universidad de Buenaventura, Bogotá.
Well, thank you very much. We really appreciate your sharing if maybe you think that it is interesting for someone. Okay. And well, the purpose of these webinars, well, I think we have 3 main purposes. First of all, we want to share research studies and experiences. We also want to promote reflection upon, language-related issues, especially English language. And well, we also want to strengthen the community. I don't know if maybe in the future universities or colleagues want to do research projects or share important information, or you can also join us in Facebook to share events and the like. Okay, so thank you very much. I'm very happy to count on Jairo Castañeda's help today. Well, before giving the floor to my colleague, to Professor Jairo, on April 16th, we're gonna have another webinar, which has been called the Flipping the Cone Using Critical Literacies in EFL Education. Maria Fernanda Jaime and John Jairo Lozada from Universidad Colombiana are going to be sharing this important topic. Okay, so well, our webinar has been named "What Makes Us English Teachers," and this is our presenter's profile. Professor Jairo Castañeda holds a BA in English Spanish, an MA in Education with an emphasis on English didactics, associate professor from our institution, Universidad de Buenaventura, Bogotá, full-time professor at Universidad Colombiana. He is the president of ASOCOPI. So if you need, if you want a better salary, if you want to, I don't know, whatever you need to, you are talking to to the big cheese, Jairo Castañeda. Well, it's a joke, it's a joke. Currently, he is completing his doctoral studies with an emphasis in ELT at Universidad Distrital. His research interests revolve around English teachers' identity constitution, even from their initial education through autoethnographic narratives. So thank you very much. And thank you, Heidi, too. Let me know if you need help.
Okay, thank you very much, Jorge, for the introduction. About Asocopy, we can talk Asocopy later. Asociación Colombiana de Profesores de Inglés, for those who don't know that association, but later. Today we are going to work on something. Right. Are you watching on my screen? You please confirm.
Yes.
Yes, teacher.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. So I am very glad to be here. As Jorge said, I work for Universidad de Buenaventura since 2012, so a long time ago. But now, currently, I am working. Someone is drawing on the screen. Okay, don't worry. I am working as a full-time professor at Universidad Surcolombiana in Neighborhood, right? So the main topic that we are going to work today and that I would like to discuss or make a dialogue with you is this one. What makes us English teachers? Why is this topic? Just because as you read on my profile, I am very interested in the idea of how we constitute our identity as English teachers. But our identity as English teachers doesn't come from ourselves. They come from other external factors as well. So in this endeavor, I would like to work with you today with this issue that has to do the identity that we have as English teachers. What is making us, what is constituting us English teachers? And why can we call us ourselves English language teachers? So we are going to start with a couple of memes. So I'm going to show you the first one. So I am sure that you have seen memes like this one, right? English language teachers and the different pictures and the different sentences that the descriptions that you have there, right? The different positions that, or the different eyes that are seeing us and how different each one is seeing us, assuming something specifically, right? I'm going to show you a couple of these memes more, and we are going to see how people portray also teachers in general and how they see our profession sometimes, right? How they perceive us as teachers or how they perceive us as English language teachers. This one caught my attention because of the first picture, the grammar police, and because of the last picture, right? So what I actually do. So different shapes of reality, different moments of our life that is showing us different perspectives as well, right? So we can see that the reality or in the real world, we cannot define ourselves as others define ourselves, right? We cannot say that our profession is in a certain way, just as other people do, that they think that we do. So the idea today is to start unveiling these ideologies or these ways of seeing our profession from others and the way of seeing our profession from ourselves. How are we going to do that? We are going to interact a little bit. I know that there are some people here in the audience, but we are going to start with this. Okay, we are going to continue with these couple of questions. So if you have a cell phone, you can take a picture of the IQ code, or you can also write on your chat box, and on your chat box is going to be the link. Give me a second. I'm going to write it down on the chat box. as well, right? So here you have the link of this Mentimeter, right? And we are going to answer two different questions. We are going to answer two questions. Very simple. The idea is that you give me 3 words for the first one. And a second, I'm going to share this. Yes. Are you watching now my screen on Mentimeter?
Yes.
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 Okay, so you can start writing down what comes to your mind with this statement. Use 1 or 2 words to describe an English teacher. Describe an English teacher. Which words will you use? And please stay there because there is another question. Okay, so we have another question on. I'm going to write down again the link for those who haven't entered and copy only 3 words. Very interesting words, by the way. Very interesting ways of seeing ourselves because you are describing ourselves as English teachers. It doesn't matter if you are a student in the BA program or if you are a master's student or if you are a teacher already, a professor, whoever you are, an English language teacher. So here we have very important words, and the most important one so far is creative. The creativeness. Okay, the other one is globalized, creativity, dedicated, innovative, researcher, interesting word, patient, that's a very good quality, very necessary. The other one, intelligent, I love that one. Capable, bilingual, interesting words. And you can pay attention to this cloud, to this word cloud, and we cannot see any word that say that we have something that it is not like good, right? So there are very, very good qualities. We have funny, leader, interculturality, okay, that's good. Human, motivator, open-minded, and being ourselves. That's very, very interesting, this part of the word. Now, we are going to change. Thank you for the answers. More people are writing, continue writing. Okay, thank you. So we are going to change here. And we are going to have another question. But it is not another question, another statement. So it is used to 1 or 2 words that other people will use to describe us, to describe English teachers. Other people who are not English teachers. What do you think they will, which words will they use in order to describe us? It's the same Mentimeter. You don't have to go out. It's the same one, the same link. Goodness, really? That's true. Totally true. Gringo. Interesting. So there are many words that are describing us. And as you can see, they are very different from the ones that we use in order to describe us, right? You have patient, and it is one that it's common in both sides. Mates, interesting, that word. Colonizer, hard worker, very good. Impatient, repetition, clever, poor, capitalist, resilient, a very good one. Rich, with LOL. That's interesting. I don't know who said that who say that we are rich, but okay, who says that? Gay, right? There to be, boring. Okay. So what can you notice now that we have done this short exercise? What do you notice? What differences do you notice in the two ones? If you want, you can share your opinions, opening your microphones, or you can write on the chat. What do you think about the differences between how we see ourselves and how others see ourselves? You can write on the chat if you want, or you can open the microphone as well, just to see what happened. What do you think about these differences?
Okay, if you want, I can participate.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, I think that our job is very important. We have to motivate our students because as well, I mean, in nowadays the globalization is very important, and English is a key factor in this process. But sometimes no one can see the importance of that, so we have to be motivators, and also we have to be open-minded and creative to accomplish this purpose. But the people who are not English teacher sometimes see that labor, that job as a colonizer job, or sometimes people think that you are just translating stuff, and that's it. But it's it's deeper than that. So that's my opinion.
That's more complex. Very good. Jessica is asking about the question. The question is how or what differences, or what is your opinion about the differences between the first word cloud that in which we describe ourselves and the second in which we describe what others say about ourselves as English language teachers. So Karen Juliana, could you please go?
Yes, teacher, I think that people sees the English class just as a grammatical class instead of seeing the whole world of things that we can make during an English class.
Very good. That's a very good opinion. Thank you very much for your opinion, Angie.
Yes, good afternoon. Well, I think that the main problem, if we could say in that way, it's that we as teachers we focus in the process. Yes, we see everything that we do. We see this step by step, and we are worried about how we could do it better each day. But people who is seeing our who is watching our job since another perspective, since their own paradigms and all kind of that kind of things, are people who only see the finish,
The
end, yes, the result of what we did, but they don't take into account all the process that we have to do to get that result. So I think that that's the main reason of that difference.
Okay, thank you very much for your opinion, Angie. Valentina?
Yes, teacher. Okay, what I noticed between this one and the other one is that basically, one, like first, people like understand a completely different thing of what it really is. I mean, they understand that we are translator and that we know every single word in English just because we are English teachers. So they think that we know everything. But there is also this thing that they also think in some cases, what I have noticed is that they think that they underestimate our work sometimes. I mean, They think that we are just translators and that's all, and that we just know English. But that if you analyze, a lot of people say like, well, I can learn English like by myself. I do not need an English teacher. So yes, basically I see that they think that we know everything in English, and the second thing is that they underestimate our work.
Okay, thank you very much for that opinion. Professor Jorge Munoz is saying lack of knowledge, people don't really know what we do. He wrote that on the chat. And Angela Franco said, sometimes people don't, I'm sorry, sometimes people don't appreciate teachers or other works and have a lot of prejudices. They judge from a biased perspective. I agree with that. On the other hand, we as professionals know that our work is a way different and we can develop different activities as some of the audience can, all of the audience members have mentioned. And that's very true. And this is more or less like the intention of this webinar, just to consolidate or ratificate that we can do, or we are more than what others people are seeing from us. Teachers, about Laura Catalina Trujillo, teachers are underrated in society. People tend to judge teachers just from the negative side, taking into account their negative experiences with other teachers, often generalizing. And Jamie says, nobody sees your career as you because they don't have love and passion for it. However, they don't understand how important a teacher is for society, regardless the subject he teaches. Very good. Those opinions are very valuable and very important because we are seeing something that it is relevant in here. The external eyes, the outsiders who are not in our community of practice, are seeing us as someone who does a specific task. They are just putting us into a space, a very little space. But as here, this comment, sorry, Angela Franco was mentioning, there are more things that we do, and we are able to even to do more or have more experiences. And she says one important word, that it is professionals. So from my perspective, sometimes we forget, sometimes we as English teachers forget that we are also professionals. And the professional word implies many things, not only to go to the classroom and to deliver a bunch of knowledge, but it's also to reflect, to create, to innovate, as you mentioned in the previous question, right? So we have to take that into account, and we have to pay attention to that. And I'm going to continue with my presentation here. Sorry, while I talk. So we have to take that into account just because it is very, very important and necessary. And you can see that in this case, what is happening is that we have been like putting into a stereotype, right? The English teacher is being seen as someone that has to do only one task, and it is teach English, teach the rules of English, teach pronunciation, teach grammar, and that's all. But it is not the reality. That is not the reality. So how can we work towards unveiling those kind of images? How can we do in order to uncover those ideologies that are being or that have been perpetuating, right? Because they have been like establishing a way of being for ourselves, right? They are reducing ourselves, they are reducing our profession to a single task. And as one of the participants mentioned before, they are not seeing the process, they are not seeing what it is involved in this task that they assume we do, right? So the idea of this workshop, or it is not a workshop, but this webinar is also to help us to understand who we are, although we know who we are, but try to do an exercise in order to reflect a little bit who we really are in our profession. So this second exercise, the second part of the webinar has to do with something very interesting. We are going to do it into two parts. The first part is this one. You are going to go, please, go to the to this Padlet. Sorry, I have to share to everybody. Right. I have to share to everybody. So share it. I am sharing on the chat the Padlet. If you have a cell phone, also you can use your cell phone in order to go to the Padlet. And we are going to do a little post taking part of our stories, taking part of our background, and making a couple of sentences. Don't worry about the extension. What made you decide to become an English teacher? What made you decide to become an English teacher? What was that moment? What was that issue, that experience, or that desire maybe that helped you or that allowed you to, oh my God, everything is one over the other. So you can reorganize the Padlet. This is the Padlet. So what are the story? What is the moment in which you said, okay, I'm going to be an English teacher? And what made you make that decision? Posters are very interesting. Okay. Going to share the Padlet again, just in case that you haven't get the link. Okay. Somebody says passion for help kids in poor condition. I already knew how to speak English, and I was inspired by one of the language professors to become an English teacher, and he had studied at Universidad. So I decided to follow his steps out of admiration for him. That's interesting. He says, this person says, I wanted to be an engineer, but I passed the exam at Pedagogica, and I said, okay, let's try. Now I thank God for having given this option to me, and I earn more than an engineer. Okay, right. So maybe you are the person who wrote that you teachers are rich. I don't know. I'm kidding. Okay, let's see. Help learn vacation and love for teaching. I wanted to learn languages. That's very interesting. Also, sometimes that's the option that we have. The first inspiration or motivation is to learn the language, and that's good also, right? It is not bad, because although we are teachers, we also are English language teachers, and that's one of the triggers to do it. Okay, I am trying to organizing everything. So those comments are very interesting, and they are part of your stories. And if you can see in this part, every single post is different from the other. So what means that every single story is different. There is a very important issue here, and it is that with these stories, we can understand also what is happening in our country and what co engage people in the teaching profession, right? What is calling the attention of the young people, from the young people to enroll to an English language teacher program, right? So we can see many things here. And if you are already a professor, maybe you can relate with some of the teachers, with some of the students who are writing here as well, right? Because the audience today is very varied. So these stories make me think that there is a possibility for us to start understanding, to continue understanding what is happening in our teaching profession from a deeper, in depth, right? Using these kind of moments, using these kind of reasons, using these experiences that you have written in here. So that's why so thank you very much for the participation. I can see that many people participated, and this is very rewarding. I mean, it is very, I am very happy for that. So thank you very much. So this let me like think that there is a need to continue analyzing or to continue using or exploring stories. So what I proposed in order to start unveiling what makes us English teachers, because that's a question that we cannot answer like in general, it's to analyze the narratives, to analyze our stories, to analyze what had happened to us from the very beginning, even before we start our major, in order to know, to understand who we are now and what made us make the decision of becoming an English language teacher. So the proposal here is analyzing two different moments, two different aspects. The first one is the using of narratives to discover ourselves. So in this moment, I'm going to explain a little bit what is this thing of using narratives, but as an autobiography. So in the autobiography, we are going to take into account these external inputs, the sense breaking, the tensions, the threat, the opportunities, those moments that made us think that they were important. I mean, those important moments in our lives, those moments that we can evocate in order to construct our stories, our moments. So we can give tools to get more chances to the students to face this social context. Yes, that's true. Yeah, thank you very much for the comment. So in these narratives to discover ourselves, we can have this sense making of experiential input. So we take those inputs that we have here, these moments, tensions, opportunities, like breaking points in which we say or which consider that are important for our lives, and we try to make sense of them throughout using the narratives, because then we have to make the narrative work, the analysis of that story, the introspection, the seeing what it really means, right? What it really, what is the significance, what is the relevance in our life. So this narrative work is also essential in this part of discovering ourselves, because we are telling stories that are our own stories that we have told or we haven't told, right? Are told or are untold. And those told or untold stories maybe could be those moments that we could like live, but we didn't realize they were important in our life. So those are like the untold moments. And then we have the stories of selves and others, how others relate with our own stories. Our own story is not in isolation. I mean, it's not a story that goes alone in the universe. We have to take into account also that others contribute to that story. Others can be part of that story. And we could see that in the exercise, in the previous exercise. Many people were telling us that they felt motivated just because other people motivate them, right? So those older people are very important in this construction of the narrative, in this construction of the story, in this construction of the sense of what I am, of what I have been throughout this process of being an English teacher from the very beginning, even from primary school. Yeah, and from different aspects, right? Because we as English teachers, we are not just, let's say, focusing on the language. Language is just one side of our story, right? And you can maybe recall the moment when you started learning English or when you started becoming interested in English, right? But there is another one that it is when you decided to become an English teacher, to become a teacher. So this part of the teaching is also another part of the story that is complementing, right? It's complementing the stories. So in this case, or in this way that we see the narratives, we can construct or help others to construct the stories in order to make them understand themselves, right? In this relation of the stories, in this relation of this narration, we are going to see that there are many common factors among all the stories or many stories that we're constructing, yeah? But there is another thing that we have to consider. There is another moment. Okay, it's a create the possible self, and also it regain coherence. So it makes sense of who or the story in itself, right? So there is another thing that we have to consider. And as I told you before, there are external factors. So what about the external factors? What about the culture around us? I'm not talking about just the people. I am talking about the general culture, the general environment in which we are living in, and in which we started becoming English teachers. So in that case, we can do an ethnography, and a study of that context, a qualitative description of a specific aspect of the human social condition, a very specific study in which we can understand what happens in that context. What are the characteristics of those contexts, right? So what can we do? We do this ethnography based on fieldwork and observation, and this is the base of ethnography: observing, describing, paying attention to every single thing that happens around us, right? That constitute or that can make us understand what the culture is about. And when we say culture, we are not talking about traditions. We are not talking about this superficial culture or childhood culture that we usually teach in our classes, but this is also the in-depth culture, the values that we have, the ways of seeing the world, the ways of doing things, the ways of relating with each other. So it is very intricate, this part of the ethnography, because it connects many things at the same time, right? It connects many things in the sense that they construct a whole community. And we can focus this ethnography in different environments. For example, if we are at the university now, we are studying at the university, we can say that the university is the context in which we are moving on. So we can do ethnography about our university, our specific program, that it is English language teaching, the English language teaching program, or if we are working as a professor, can do the same. Or if we are working as a teacher at a school, it is going to be the same, right? So different contexts can help us to understand what is happening around. But then something important that happens in here, sorry, I have another thing here, is, and what is the connection with this context and the previous one? I mean, the previous part, because in the previous slide, we saw the autoethnography, my own story as an English teacher. And now I am seeing here the evaluation or the examination or the description or a context, right? So what can be the connection? So we are going to see that connection in a moment, but we are going to go back then to the Padlet. And now in the Padlet, you are going to look for your post. Please look for your post and try to complement it. You can link it or you can put another next to it, complement it with another post that answer this statement. It is not a question. Let's think about the context where we became or are becoming English teachers. So how would you describe, briefly, how would you describe this context? So how would you describe the context where you became or are becoming English teachers? If you are already a teacher, how would you describe that context? Which simple words, like assuming that you are ethnographers. So how are you going to do that? I don't know if I am clear. Let's continue. So look for this because this part is the same Padlet. I didn't change the Padlet. It's the same one. And now we are going to look for the connection, right? With the context we are. Or the context in which we became or are becoming English teachers. Virtual teaching learning. So that context is very particular, right? Has some characteristics, specific characteristics. Okay, COVID-19 context. Interesting. It is very, very peculiar. I was talking about this issue with some professors last time. And there is, in this moment, we have some students we haven't seen face to face, right? We cannot recognize them. And it is even difficult nowadays to recognize them. And it is a very interesting moment also in the history and in the process of becoming English language teachers, that the context is saying it. Okay, in our context, I think there is a lack of knowledge because of the government and schools are not giving English the importance it has. Very important issues as well. This is a more, let's say, it is not that as local as other things that you are saying, but they are more, I don't know, covering more, right? More aspects, and this person is mentioned also the socio-economical classes and the challenges that we are facing, or our students are facing, right? Practicum and classes online. So that's going to make difficult or more difficult the experience of becoming a teacher, right? Okay, that's good. Very good. Thank you very much. I have to continue because the time is very short, but the idea is to continue doing this. You can see that there in one hand, on the one hand, we have our own experience. And on the other hand, we have the context in which we are immersed in which we are like living the experience, right? So this connection of the two contexts can allow us to think that there is a possibility of doing a different kind of analysis. And the proposal, this is not my proposal, but this is something that I use nowadays, and I try to have it in my classes, especially in one of the classes that I am delivering at Universidad Distrital, has to do with autoethnography, right? So that's why I wrote, and then autoethnography happened. Because it's this connection between the autobiographical experience, the autobiographical analysis that we do, and the ethnography that we do about the context. So you can see here the continuum. Oh, just this. Right. You can see here the continuum between the autobiography and the ethnography. And there is a line that indicates the continuum. One is going to one side and the other one is going to the other side. But what side is each one, right? So when we talk about the word autoethnography, we have to talk about the word auto, that it is the personal experience related more to the autobiographical aspect. The ethno, that it is to understand the cultural experience, that it is the ethnographical analysis that we could see that it is valuable, because we can recognize that there are many aspects in different levels that are affecting also our profession and our development and our constitution of identity. And we can like put it all, everything all together into a graphic that it is of writing, systematically describes and systematically analyzed, but on writing. So the autoethnography is not any other thing that balance between an autobiographical research or autobiographical analysis and an ethnography analysis, and put them all together just to understand, of course, myself, and just to understand the other in the position that I also have, right? It is not just understanding one person, but understanding the whole, like the community in general, in order to make people more sensible in terms of what is happening in our context. So when we use this autobiography, we are going to go towards the interpretative narration, or when we do this ethnography, we go towards this narrative interpretation. And the autoethnography tries to balance both. The interpretative narration and the narrative interpretation, put them together in order to make a dialogue to show us what is happening in our reality and our context, right? So this is a definition. This is the more technical part of my presentation, that there is the autoethnography definition. And autoethnography is a genre of qualitative research that allows us to look inward into our identity, thoughts, feelings, and experiences, and outward into our relationships, communities, and culture. But I can say also that autoethnography is not just a way of doing research, it's also a way of having, or it's a way of teaching also, right? So my students, for example, the last semester, they started doing these autoethnographies in the way that they explore their own stories in the context, and they started seeing many realities, many things, many interesting aspects. The most interesting of this experience, pedagogical experience, is that they started working not in isolation but collaborative, because an alternative for ethnography is the collaborative ethnography. So two or more ethnographies put them together in order to make sense of the whole experience, right? And they could say, for example, some students who are in the last semesters, they work with people who are in the first semesters, because this academic space is an elective, so it is an optional class. So they could choose it in different levels, and they mixed along the process, right? And they realized and they could see themselves reflected in the students from the second semesters, and they could recognize their progress or the changes along the time, right? And it was very valuable for them to start recognizing themselves as English language teachers and people who are able to do or to mark a difference, right? So I am not going to stop very much on this part, the purpose of the ethnography. But basically, one of the things that caught my attention when I started doing ethnography is this part: breaking the silence, reclaiming voices, and writing to write. According to Bolen, 2012, he said that breaking the silence is this moment in which we are like aware that something had happened and have not been said, right? So it is the moment to break the silence, to start saying, to start using our voices in order to express many things that have not been said, right? Injustices that have happened in our context, problems with our education, problems with our context, this issue of the policies that have been like subjugating us and making us establish a way of being. For example, this idea of that a language teacher or an English language teacher must be C1 or C2 or B1, and put them into a fixed space, right? And doesn't allow them to be themselves. This kind of moments is what we have as a break in the silence, right? And we have the right to write it, right? We have the right because we are the owners of our experiences and we are the owners of our own profession. It is not something that was given to us just for free. We have work to get it, right? So we have the right to write. Yeah, and that's more or less the point of this autoethnography. We have to show who we really are, what made us English teachers, what is constituting us English teachers, what is happening with ourselves, the good points and the bad points. So this autoethnographical experience, this autoethnographical exercise make us understand and help us to contribute in that endeavor. Because of time constraints, I'm not going to explain too much, but I'm going to invite you to read a couple of papers if you want. If you're interested in reading, you can write down on my email, I can send you, or you can look for the papers as well. But anyhow, the point here is that based on my own experience doing autoethnography, I could see many moments, many aspects, many factors that are affecting also my constitution and my understanding of myself persona as an English teacher and as an English teacher educator, that it is the position that I have right now. Right? So those moments in my life and those aspects in the context make me think and make me reflect that there are some injustices that are happening. And that's the thing that made me change my way of doing the things in the class, right? Because at the beginning, as some of you described in the first experience, I tend to be this kind of teacher who are very strict, who are very strict to the work, who are very demanding in terms of having an exam, and you have to pass the exam, because if you don't pass the exam, you are not good, right? So describing the good thing, the good teacher, how I am a good teacher, how you are a good, a bad teacher, that's something that also is it's not good for us, right? It's making us it's like blurring our image of who we really are as English language teachers, right? So this experience and this other experience are very connected. This one has to do with the collaborative of ethnography. This is a paper that we are like waiting for publication. That's why it says in press. Peinado and Morales are two English language teachers in the becoming. So they are not English teachers, they are students. BA bachelor degree. That's the licenciatura. So the exercise that they do, that they did here implies many things. Implies to analyze themselves, their self-development as English teachers. And in this way, in this search of looking for stories, they could understand that they are not constituted English teachers for free. In the case of Morales, she is an English teacher principally because their family is an English teacher, right? Or they are English teachers in their family. And Peinado, he started seeing English just because of the same reason that you mentioned in one of the posts. They love English. They started getting interested in English. But many people at the beginning, and according to their stories, they started saying, no, but why are you going to go, why are you going to go to study this profession? Why are you going to be teachers? Teachers are not well recognized. Teachers earn a few money. Teachers are not well positioned in the society. So you have to look for another profession with more category, with more status, that you can say, okay, yes, I am a very well recognized person. I am a very important person in society, so on and so forth. But those are like the moments in which they started analyzing with this exercise that it was like damaging in one sense, or in many senses, right? Because they are like stereotyping, making stereotypes, creating ideologies about who an English language teacher is. And those ideologies are not um, they are not innocent, right? They create another aspect that there is an ideology, and that ideology starts inserting in the mindset, and it creates common sense. So everybody is going to start thinking that an English language teacher is a translator. That's why you at the beginning wrote that. An English language teacher is the person who speaks English and he knows many words in English and he's a translator. So that's why this common sentence that says, if you're an English teacher, please translate this song, right? So this is common. And this is an ideology that many people have because they don't understand our profession. They don't understand that English language teacher is more educated than that, right? So these two students started evaluating these aspects, these moments, these experiences in their own bachelor, in their own professional development, and they started analyzing and they become aware of many different moments that were not good for their education as English language teachers. However, they took an advantage from that. One of those experiences also have to do with the contextual factors, like let's say in the teaching practicum, when they have to go to the school and they were seen not as an English teacher, not as a student, so their identity was like blurred in that moment, right? They are not seen as anything, right? According to this story, I'm not generalizing, I am talking about the story. So they started seeing and describe this moment as a laboratory where they are put in this laboratory, they are observed if they do what they have been taught, and they have been evaluated according to certain standards, but they are not allowed to be themselves. And when they propose something that they consider that could be beneficial for their students in the school, they are not allowed to do that, right? So there is a restriction of this willingness of doing something, and that also make them be one way of teacher, right? The teacher who is going to follow the orders all the time. The orders in an institution, the orders in a school, the orders at university. So everything is going to be there, and it is not going to allow them to be as free as we think we are, right? So this is the discussion that we do in this article that maybe it's going to be released next semester, and I will be happy to share with you if you want, and it's going to express many things as well. And I am continuing in this endeavor of working with my students, trying to make them aware of their own stories, of their own context, and of their own reality. No? It's not my reality, it's their reality. And this is what I really enjoy doing it with them. So this is all for today. So thank you very much. I don't know if I took too much time. So I don't know if there is time for questions and comments from the audience. Jorge, thank you very much for your attendance, and thank you very much for listening to me. Of course, there is time for his.
Thank you.
Thank you, teacher.
Okay, thank you. Right, any question?
Teacher, this is concern about my email address. Please, if you don't mind, could you send me the email that you have sent it to the rest of the class, please? I haven't received anything from you.
Don't worry.
So I'm worried about it.
Later.
Okay, thank you, teacher, for all.
Here on this, and then we are going to go to the other part.
Okay.
Thank you, Ana Milena, for your comment. I'm very glad to see you here, Adriana also. Thank you very much. All right, thank you, Alvaro Ricardo. Remember that if you need some more information or if you need to contact, yes, of course, I didn't change the slide. This is my email, my professional email, in case that you want to write. Okay, thank you, Henry. Yes, we learn many things. Okay.
You can use your microphone to ask questions, or you can write questions or comments in the chat box.
I have a question.
Yep.
Yes, I know that this is more like to know who we are as English teachers, but I feel that this, I don't know if call it project, can be used in students. I think that this could be pretty important because maybe sometimes we as teachers think that students are tabula rasa, that they don't have experiences, stories, or thoughts. And I want to know if you have had the opportunity to like make this project with the students, and if you have had the opportunity, how it was. I want to know because this I really like this, like this process of knowing ourselves in like our experiences and also the context. So yes, I want to know if you have that kind of experience with the students.
Okay, Nicole. Yes, but it depends. Okay, right. I think that this way of doing the narrative or exploring who we are in the English language teaching classroom cannot be focused only on one aspect of our life, right? It is not about who we are as English teachers only. We can use it in many other fields. Even in Spanish is going to be very rewarding. Of course, I have used this in my English language teaching classes. I mean, because I am a teacher educator, so I have been working with this with my students in one of the classes with them, trying to unveil these aspects of English language teachers because they are in this major, right? But absolutely, I think that it is going to be worthy to try that in other areas even, or in other contexts like the schools, right? Exploring who they really are, who they are connected to the context, and how the context made them be the person who they are right now. So it is a very interesting question, and the possibilities are many about this strategy for doing pedagogy. Okay, so we have here, thank you for such a great encounter. So thank you very much, Andres Felipe. Thanks for your time and your conference. I appreciate your help. Okay, it was amazing. Okay, great. Thank you very much for all the comments that I have received in the chat. And I think that there is not any other question.
I do.
Okay, there is one question.
Yeah. There is a question.
What do you think of the bilingual country the government wants? Do you think it's possible in the near future? I think that the answer has been given for many people, for many scholars so far, and even for many teachers who are present in this conference when they were explaining that the socioeconomical or the socioeconomic environments doesn't allow us to do as much as we can, right? And the conditions in many schools, for example, rural schools, or in other areas in Bogota or in the big cities that doesn't have the conditions for allowing the students to learn as we wish they learn, right? Because they are going to the school and they are attending classes and everything, but they don't have maybe the conditions for learning, right? And they are just assuming that this law that was projected for schools in 1995 and allowed them to pass and pass and pass and pass is a guarantee to have education, but it is not true, right? Yeah, I don't know if I explain myself, right? It is just the mere fact that go to the school and be there, it's not a guarantee that they are going to learn. And that's something that we have to think. And it goes beyond the bilingual plan that the Colombian has, right? It goes beyond. It is a part, a very crucial part of the whole educational system that is affecting also the bilingual aspect or the bilingual plan that they have. And it is only possible, from my perspective, if the conditions are assured. right? If we have the conditions. Of course, there are many excellent experiences in which teachers can do many wonderful things with what they have, right? I can recall a teacher in Boyacá who works with their students in the rural areas, and she tries to do ethnography, in order they to learn English and to try to see English as something that can be useful, right? That's the first thing. But the conditions are very complicated from my perspective, I would say. Thank you for your question. Diego Rivera, I have a question. What do you think are the aspects of someone's context that can make them lose motivation or reassure their linking for becoming English language teaching? I think that there are many factors. You know, when you're talking about motivation, you are talking about your interest as well. So what is your real interest about the profession? When you go towards this major, do you really want to work with people? Do you really want to spend time designing classes, explaining things, or making the others to do things? So it is part of who you are as a person as well. So this decrement of motivation maybe could be also because of the stereotyping of who we are as English language teachers, or who we are as teachers in general, and the profession, how is, I mean, how like underrated is the profession. The profession is very underrated. Sometimes it is one of the possibilities, and the other possibility maybe could be that they are not seeing beyond the teaching, and again, I'm going to repeat, this is a profession, a complete profession. So there is not only one angle of that profession. Teaching is just one aspect, but in teaching there are many other things that are involved, many other aspects and many other moments that or activities that we can go towards too, right? So we have to see the profession as something integral, not only go to the class, because that's not the only thing that we can do in our profession. Okay, thank you very much for your question. Thank you very much, Diana, for your for your comment. And I think that it is all. Oh, Freddy, that's good.
Yeah, Professor Jairo, I have a question.
Difficult or easy?
No, anything is easy for you. I remember that when I asked the university to design this piece in order to publish the webinar, you asked
Yes.
me, Jorge, what did the university include the British flag?
The British and the American flag.
Yeah, the American. Yeah, I mean, why was that? And I say, I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not in charge of doing that, but I can ask, the area to change it. And you said, no. It can be useful for the presentation I'm gonna give. So, could you please expand a little bit on that? I mean, I know that you don't have anything against UK because you've traveled there, but what do you want? What do you mean? Yeah, when you said, and why? I mean, you were like, why are you including those flags?
The thing is, Jorge, that it is very connected to what we discussed at the beginning. How others are seeing us, right? And at that moment, I saw the picture and I say, but why are they using the British and the American flag? They are reducing even the language that we are using only to do two varieties. So it is not the reality that we are doing. Actually, we don't have even those varieties, although we are assuming or pursuing this native-like dream that we have, or I don't know, it's my dream. I mean, it is a dream about, according to me. And then I say, okay, but it could be a very good excuse in order to start seeing how others are looking at us, and they are reducing our profession. Again, with that picture, they are reducing our profession only to English, right? We are more than English. We are more than a variety, an English, an American English or a British English variety, right? We are not pursuing becoming American or British, or not in my case, or in many other cases. So that's our another aspect that we have to consider, right? So, but then I thought, if I change it, how would I change it, right? How would I change it? And I said, no, it is a good excuse to make them think if it is possible for us to unveil that there is something that are constrained our own identity and making us think that we have only to be or to fit to those two spaces, to those little spaces, right? And that's part of my concern that day. But I forgot to include it. Sorry, I have a bad memory. People who know me, they know that I have a bad memory. Okay, thank you for the question.
Okay, I don't know if you have time to read. I think there are two questions in the chat box, but in the meantime, I ask you just a question to finish. Well, but anyway, thank you very much. I really appreciate your being us with us today. I know that you're very busy. And my last question is, what makes you an English teacher? Could you please answer your question?
That's a very complicated answer. Actually, the answer, it's not a general answer. The answer is inside, right? When you explore yourself, when you explore who you are, who made you, or your context, you're going to realize what made you an English teacher. It doesn't
Okay,
matter.
but what makes Jairo Castañeda an English teacher?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, my whole experience. Oh my God, that's very long, a long story. But basically, realizing the teacher who I am now, it's because of the experience of being involved in this exploration of who the others are, right? Who the English language teachers are, because I am very interested in the process of becoming English language teachers from the BA program. And then I started seeing myself and reflecting on my own experience, and I could see that my own experience is not that far, that far different from the ones that my students are having. And even it was very complicated as well, the conditions in which I deliver my teaching practicum, with no teachers who support my experience, being alone in a school with poor conditions. That marked myself. And then when I started my career and I started assuming that I had the power in my classroom, and made me realize that was not the way, right? And that is not the thing that I would like to work to do with the students in the classroom. So I would like to have an opportunity to exchange, to collaborate, to work with them, that they can contribute to my own personal development, my own professional development, and I can contribute to their own personal and professional development. So that's it's like making me shape my identity as English language teacher, right? So it is even more intricate, but briefly, I can say that. So thank you for your question. Okay, John Eduardo is asking if I have a research in this moment about this. Maybe no. Yes, I do. Part of my PhD is based on exploration of these autoethnographies with teachers, or with pre-service teachers at Universidad Surcolombiana. And Laura Catalina, hello Laura, long time no see, is to change our identity as an English teacher. If you're not helping with it, is there an effective process? Just introspection, just realizing who you are and who you want to be, right? I think that it is not difficult, because identity is not static. Identity is not, I am an English teacher and I am like this. No, you can change. Your experiences are going to make you change anyhow, right? You are beginning your career as a teacher, and you are going to see in 10 years that you are not going to see to be the same teacher you are now, right? So everything is going to affect that process. Is there an affective, okay, affective, right? And do you think it's important to have a native pronunciation to become an English teacher? Oh my God, Nicole, you are asking a question that I ask my students in phonetics and phonology, and my answer is no. I don't have to look like any other person. I use the language that I have, and I am proud of who I am. It doesn't matter. I can make mistakes because I am not native, and I don't want to be a native from my personal perspective. And I try to use the English that I learn in the way that I think I can use it, right? So that's my answer. Thank you for that question. Very complicated. When exploring and defining our identity as English teachers, could we affirm that part of our identity is language we teach, or the context in which that language exists, or both? I think that both, definitely. We are, as I told you, we have in this identity construction, we have different identities, because it is not only one identity. We have the identity of the English speaker, and the identity of the English speaker is very connected to the language we use, right? And the language we listen, and the language we want to use, and also the identity as a teacher. So what kind of person do I want to be as a professional, or what kind of teacher do I want to be? So those combinations of those interjections in there are going to constitute our whole identity as language teachers. But it is not just one thing that is happening at one moment, but can change along the time, right? Because it is not fixed. And even the personal life can affect also, the personal circumstances can affect also who we are as English teachers. And I think that that's the last question. So thank you very much for your questions. Very interesting questions.
Thank you. I don't know if there is another question before coming to the end, or I don't know if you want to write a question.
I want to say hello to all my friends who are here supporting me. They attended, and I am glad to see you.
Many people attended, and no, the topic is quite interesting, because identity is a difficult issue. Thank you, Jairo. I don't know if, well, in the meantime, I'm going to thank Jairo, but please, if you have a final question, just write it in the chat box. Don't worry, you please use the chat box to state your question. Jairo, I really appreciate your sharing this interesting topic with us. I remember that when I started learning languages, I would say that almost nobody, none of my teachers mentioned anything about culture, anything about identity. Yeah, my school was more linguistic, more go and read Chomsky, Ferdinand de Saussure, etc. I mean, I admire them. I don't have anything against those researchers, but these issues were not discussed many years ago. Yeah, and now it's I've always found it very interesting, because people think that when you study, when you teach another language, you have to be, as Nicole was saying, do I have to try to be a native speaker? Do I have to look like an American teacher? Do I have to, dye my hair blonde to look like an American guy? Do I have to look like a British person? So that's quite challenging. Very interesting. The discussion was very interesting. So thank you very much. Thank you, Jarito. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jorge. And I want to tell you also that from the Universidad de Buenaventura, we also did a project related to identity, and we wrote an article based on that maybe is going to be published very soon with our students from the BA in this university. And it is another aspect, another angle that have been not so explored, and has to do with those teachers who are already teachers because of the empirical experience, but they started developing their profession just as a requirement. So how this process has affected or has, yes, is connected to their identity, professional identity. That's the issue, the main point of the article that we are going to, we are trying to publish it.
Publish. Okay, I hope it you can publish it. Very interesting. Then you can share the results with us maybe in a different webinar.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. I really appreciate your being here. Thank you very much. Again, thank you, Jairito, for supporting us all the time. And well, I don't know if you can join us. We'll try to plan more webinars like every 20 days. So, well, you're welcome to join us in the near future, and have a great weekend. And
April the 16th. Remember that that's the next webinar. April the 16th.
Yeah,
right?
April the 16th. Yes. Anyway, I will publish it in Facebook, so you can enroll. Thank you very much. It was great. Thanks for this opportunity. Thank you. Have a great day.